Humans have been crossbreeding animals for hundreds of years, whether it be to create an animal that produces more milk or yields more milk, or if it just happens by accident. The results are undeniably fascinating and sometimes horrifying. Today we're going to be looking at 10 awesome hybrid animals that actually exist. Make sure you stay tuned until number 1 and let us know which of the 2 names it was given that you prefer. Number 10. Zonkies and Zodonks. Also sometimes called Zebras or Zenkies, Zonkies and Zodonks are basically the same animal, which is the offspring of a zebra and a donkey. The only real difference is that Zonkies come from a male zebra and a female donkey, while Zodonks come from a male donkey and a female zebra. These animals were originally bred by humans hundreds of years ago because of their lauded strength, stamina, and resistance to common equine disease. But they only gained to the general public's attention back in the 1970s. This is when the Colchester Zoo accidentally bred some. Since then, these animals have become a popular tourist attraction, and zoos around the world have continued to breed them. Although you can mostly see them in captivity, Zodonks and Zonkies can also be found naturally in the wild. They're particular where wild zebras and donkeys share the same territory. But because they're born sterile, they can't reproduce on their own, so seeing them out in the wild is pretty rare. Also, the steady loss of zebra habitat in the wild makes the possibility of wild Zodonks and Zonkies even rarer. Number 9. The Narluga. Narlugas were first discovered in 1980 when an Inuit subsistence hunter named Jens Larsen killed 3 of them off the coast of Greenland. He was naturally puzzled with his catch, as the 3 creatures shared some of the same characteristics as narwhals and beluga whales, but are clearly neither. Catching on to the significance of his find, he kept one of the skulls for scientists to study, just in case. He also wasn't wrong, as in 1990 the skull finally caught the attention of scientist Mads Peter Hyde Jorgensen, who specializes in marine animals. With Larsen's permission, he took it to the Greenland Fisheries Research Institute in Copenhagen for study. And after comparing it to the skulls of known belugas and narwhals, he suggested that it might have been a hybrid between the 2 species, a Narluga. His hunch was confirmed by genetic studies, proving that the animals possess half the genes of a beluga and half that of a narwhal. But its mitochondrial DNA, which is solely taken from the mother, is a 100% narwhal. In naming hybrid animals like these, convention states that the first part of the name comes from the father, hence it should have been called the Burwal. But the name Narluga stuck because it has been called that for years, and plus, let's be honest here, it sounds cooler. Number 8. The Beefalo. The beefalo is an animal that is a cross between a bison and a domesticated cow. Unlike most of the hybrids on this list, they are born fertile and can live and thrive in the wild. This characteristic may be the thing that makes the hybrid quite polarizing to people. But before we get into that, a little bit of history. Attempts to cross a bison with a domesticated cow go as far back as the 19th century, but it was not until 1965 when the first fertile beefalo was successfully bred. Beefalo were created for their meat, which was leaner and contained less cholesterol than beef, and also for their hardiness. One reason why they were bred was because of a particularly harsh winter which decimated most of that year's livestock. The result was an animal that could survive the harshest of weather while providing better milk and allegedly even more milk. On the downside, beefalo are slowly wiping out pure strains of the bison in the wild. Currently, scientists are hard-pressed to find a pure bison, as most have already interbred with the escaped beefalo. Native Americans have also reported about how devastating these animals can be to the natural habitat of the bison. As of this writing, there are about 600 wild beefalo out there, which doesn't really sound like that much, but given the fact that the population increases 50% every year, it's not hard to see that their numbers will soon grow to alarming proportions. This leaves the US government with a predicament on how to properly control their numbers. Number 7. The Wolpin. Wolpins, or to be more precise, the wolpin is probably the rarest animal on this list. It is a cross between a false killer whale and a bottlenose dolphin. No specimen has ever been seen in the wild, and the only specimen that we know of in captivity was born very unexpectedly. Actually, it's quite a good love story. In Sea Life Park, located just outside Honolulu, Hawaii, lived a male false killer whale named I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this name, I'm gonna butcher the heck out of it, so just put it up on the screen. He shared his pen with a female bottlenose dolphin named Punahele. They are quite the unlikely couple, given that false killer whales often reach 14 feet in length and tip the scales at 2,000 pounds, while bottlenose dolphins rarely reach 6 feet and 400 pounds. So it was really quite a surprise to their keepers when they gave birth to Kikimalu, the world's first and probably only Wulpin. Kikimalu's features combine both species of animals perfectly. Her head resembles a false killer whale, but the tip of the nose and her fin look like a dolphin's. However, her coloring is darker than a dolphin's. Although hybrids like Kikimalu normally have birth defects and don't live that long, she defied odds and grew to maturity. She even at separate occasions gave birth to 2 Wulpin calves. They did not live long, however, making Kikimalu the only living Wulpin in the world. Number 6. The Savannah Cat. When is a cat not a cat? Well, when it's a Savannah cat, according to people who have had the pleasure of owning one, these cats are very loyal, follow you around the house, can even be trained to walk in a leash and even play fetch. In other words, they're more like dogs rather than cats. But no, it's not because they were the result of a mad scientist experimenting on how to interbreed cats and dogs. That's more of a hyena territory, actually. It was rather the unexpected result of mating a wild cat with a domesticated cat. They are also the largest domesticated cat breeds, but are quite light for their size, only weighing about 6 kilos. They became popular among cat breeders during the late 1990s after the first successful crossbreeding done by Judy Frank and Susie Woods. Number 5. The Jaglion. While most of the hybrid animals on this list were intentionally crossbred, some of them happened quite unexpectedly, which actually makes for a pretty good story. The next amazing hybrid on our list proves that no matter what you do to prevent it, true love finds a way. At the Bear Creek Sanctuary in Ontario, Canada, lived Diablo, a male jaguar, and Lola, a lioness. They've been practically together since birth, as they were brought to the sanctuary as cubs just a few years apart. As they grew up and reached mating age, great care was taken into making sure that they didn't sleep in the same cage, although they still stayed in the same enclosure during the day. So everybody was surprised when Lola exhibited signs that she was indeed pregnant. Out of this union were born 2 lovely Jaglion cubs, Jazara and Tsunami, who as far as we know are the only 2 living Jaglions in the world. Both have distinct markings of the jaguar, though Jazara is almost completely black. The pair still live in the Bear Creek Sanctuary where they continue to be popular attractions. Number 4. The Geep. A geep is not actually an offspring of the sexual mating of 1 sheep and 1 goat, rather it is an animal resulting from the physical mingling of very early embryos of the 2 species and thus has 4 parents, 2 sheep and 2 goats. The scientific term for an animal with mingled cells from 2 species is chimera. The first well-known geep was born in 1984 after scientists at the Institute of Animal Physiology in Cambridge, England combined goat and sheep embryos of 4 to 8 cells each and placed them in sheep and goat wombs for gestation. 6 live animals were born, but the scientists found that only 1 had blood proteins from both sheep and goats. It showed patches of both goatish hair and sheepish wool. An actual sheep-goat hybrid is possible. In a true hybrid, the genetic material from the 2 species is mingled at conception. This has half the chromosomes coming from one parent and half from the other. Because goats and sheep have mismatched numbers of chromosomes, the resulting offspring, if it survives, is sterile. Number 3. The Coy Wolf. The Coy wolf, also known as the Coy dog, the eastern coyote, the Tweed wolf, the brush wolf, the northeastern coyote, or the new wolf, was first described by scientists in the 1960s. Its population has quickly grown to millions and is quickly expanding into the southeast, drawing on the most advantageous features of each of the canon members that make up its hybridized DNA to spread and flourish in areas that have traditionally been inhospitable to purebred coyotes and purebred wolves. To put it simply, a coy wolf is a hybrid which is a result of a coyote and a wolf mating, but it's not as simple as that. There have been specimens that not only possess the DNA of both coyote and wolf, but also domesticated dog DNA. Biologists suspect that the interbreeding that led to the coy wolf began a century or 2 ago, when wolf populations in southern Ontario began declining as humans began clearing their forest habitat. This was of course in relation to their farming, and also being killed in retaliation or anticipation of their deadly interactions with the humans who took over their land. Now it's time for the day's best pick. Today we're going to be looking at a hybrid animal that is so famous it's already a part of modern pop culture. Don't believe me? Just watch the first season of Power Rangers and you'll know what I'm talking about. Number 2. The Liger and the Tiglion. A liger is a hybrid animal that shouldn't come as a surprise to you. This animal's existence has always been in our consciousness for years. But what about the Tiglion? Believe it or not, they're almost the same animal. The only major difference is for ligers, a lion is the father and a tiger is the mother, which is the exact opposite for tide lions. Like most of the hybrids in this list, ligers and tide lions never come up out in the wild. All specimens of both animals were bred in captivity, and although the term liger was only coined in 1930, there have been documented cases of ligers as early as the 19th century in India, and there have been art depictions of them since 1798. These cats are known to be the largest big cats in the world, dwarfing even the mighty tiger in sheer size, reaching a total length of 11.8 feet. Hercules, the largest non-obese liger, is recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest living cat on Earth, weighing 922 pounds. Hercules was featured on the Today Show, Good Morning America, Anderson Cooper 360, Inside Edition, and in a Maxim article in 2005 when he was only 3 years old and already weighed 900 pounds.
I saved the best for last, but first, I have a quick challenge that takes only 5 seconds to complete. If you can leave a like and subscribe within the next 5 seconds, you'll get 10 years of amazing luck. Just try it, it really works.
Number 1. The Growler Bear. Growler bear is a hybrid species of bear created by interbreeding of grizzly bear and polar bear. As a result of a global climate change and melting of the ice on the polar caps, geographic distribution of grizzly bears and polar bears start to overlap. Polar bears and grizzly bears often encounter each other on the border of tundra and sea on the Alaska and in northern parts of Canada today. When they meet each other during the mating season, two species interbreed and create hybrids known as growler bears or pizzly bears. First growler bear has been observed in the wild in 2006. Even though many growler bears could have been born since that time, only 3 cases have been scientifically proven via DNA testing. Which hybrid animal would you like to see in person? Let us know in the comment section down below. Want to watch more videos about amazing animals? Click on any of the videos you see on the screen. As always, thanks for watching everybody, and I will see you all next time.